This morning, Britain has a new Prime Minister.
You have given us a clear mandate. Our work is urgent, and we begin it today. Thank you very much.
Keir Starmer's Progressive Labour Party winning last night's election in a landslide, their biggest majority since Tony Blair won in 1997. Starmer defeating Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservatives, who have led Britain for the last 14 years, including through Brexit, and are now reeling from their worst loss in 2 centuries.
After 14 years of Conservative rule in England, the Labour Party has finally retaken power in last night's decisive elections. It was a landslide victory for moderate Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, which secured 412 seats compared to 121 for Conservatives. So that means their Labour will be the government's ruling majority after one of the worst electoral losses for Conservatives in British political history. This is a big deal. Starmer has presented himself in this campaign as a moderate with some conservative positions. For instance, he's vowing to control budgetary spending and to not raise taxes. And he's talking tough on immigration and social security. Alexander Smith, a reporter from NBC, had this to say: on defense, Starmer has mirrored the conservative promise to raise military spending to 2.5% of the country's gross domestic product, a slight raise over last year and above NATO's recommended 2% target. And while this is clearly a win for Labour, their victory says more about the country's current disdain for the Conservatives. Opinion polls and interviews suggested that many voters were motivated not by love for Labour, but rather by a desire to punish the Conservatives for 14 years of scandals and policy missteps. It raises the prospect that Labour's support, while wide, could be shallow and brittle, shattering just as easily as it came together. And that is backed up by the fact that voter turnout was very, very low. Across the UK as a whole, turnout was 60%, the second lowest in a UK election since 1885. Only 2001 was lower with 59%. 2001 was a rough year for all of us. I don't know if you guys remember that year. Following the Conservatives' massive losses, outgoing Prime Minister Rishi Sunak apologized to his party. Take a look.
The British people have delivered a sobering verdict tonight. There is much to learn and reflect on, and I take responsibility for the loss. To the many good, hard-working Conservative candidates who lost tonight, despite their tireless efforts, their local records of delivery, and their dedication to their communities, I am sorry. I will now head down to London, where I will say more about tonight's result before I leave the job of Prime Minister, to which I have given my all.
All right, Cenk, does this have broader implications around the world? I know that we've been seeing waves of right-wing dominance around the globe, but could this possibly send a signal to conservative parties in other countries, including the United States? What do you think?
Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team.
Yeah, I'm positive what it means. And it actually barely has anything to do with the UK. So when you look at it, people get confused because they keep looking at it as left versus right. And they're like, which way is UK going? Which way is America going? Which way is Brazil going? I don't get it. They're going left, right, left, right, left, right. And these big giant changes, and it's happening all across the world, in Argentina and France and so many places. Guys, it isn't about left versus right. It's that the people all across the world are saying, change, give us change. And you know why? Because we all live under corporate rule. And so people keep going, well, is anybody gonna change this goddamn thing? And so the reason why this was the perfect Starmer, if you will, is because, and it was such a giant result and the best result they've had in such a long time, worst defeat for the Conservatives in, I think, 200 years, is because people thought, okay, we did Brexit, we gave the Conservatives all these opportunities, and nothing changed. And they just did the same kind of corruption that every politician does. And what do Conservatives do in every country? They're for the rich and for corporate rule. So All they have to do is try them for a little bit, and then everybody goes, oh, hell no, I don't want that crap, right? Same thing happened to Bolsonaro in Brazil, same thing happened to Trump here in the US. The problem is that the left of those parties never does economic populism in any of those countries. If they do, the ones that come closest, by the way, Obrador did in Mexico, they won a landslide re-election. Economic populism, it's not that complicated, right? Whoever does it stays in power. Whoever promises it gains power. Whoever's in power never does it. So that's why the electorate all across the world is swinging wildly from left to right because they're desperate for change.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Cenk said because I don't know that people in the UK were voting for the Labour Party. They were voting against the incumbent. They were voting against and saying, you know what? Enough is enough. We can't take it anymore. And the problem with that is, can it be sustained? Which I think Cenk was also speaking to, because you can't really sustain a negative. What is the Labour Party going to do to stay in favor with the people after this landslide? And I don't know that they are, although there's talk about going towards the middle and leaning in that way. I just think that there are larger implications everywhere. I know we'll talk more about the debate, but when you talk about politics over here and what's happening and a sea change and everything like that, that's the one monkey wrench that's been thrown into it over here. People are fed up. People are tired of not getting their piece of the pie, but you have to vote for something, not just against something. And I think that's going to be a problem over here.
Yeah, I think here in the United States, especially, we're going into this really insane election in November. And it's an election that really nobody is excited about. Nobody is optimistic about. There's a lot of stress amongst the American people over this election. This does feel promising to me, seeing something like this happen in the UK. I'm going to say it's not entirely surprising because Rishi Sunak, the way he became the prime minister wasn't very popular. The things that he did once he was prime minister wasn't very popular. But it is, as Cenk said, we're stuck on a political pendulum all the time, just swinging back and forth. And after a while, people just want some kind of stability. But when you only have two parties to choose from here in the United States, especially, it's really exhausting because one is so far one way, the other one is so far the other way. And over time, those polarizations just become more and more extreme and distinct from one another. So we'll have to see how things go in November with us here. Hopefully we can. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. That's all I'm going to say about November here in the United States.
No.
Cenk, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're a mess over here. So and we're now an exception to this whole rule because one of the party leaders is melting. So I mean, I don't know that the Democratic Party is going to give voters here in America a second person to even consider. So the Democratic Party is imploding in a historic way. So the American people are forced into a choice that they can't stand. But the last thing I wanted to say is particular to the UK. Rishi Sunak, with one of the worst political calls I have seen worldwide in my lifetime of covering politics. Calling for that election at the time that he did was a disaster. The minute he called for the election, the die was cast, and this result was nearly guaranteed. So the election was just the end of that process, but really what did the conservatives in was Sunak calling the election in the first place. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.